Kilted
Ballz.
Ballz. Woo!
Yeah.
Nice. That one was pretty close. Pretty close. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Kilted Ballz podcast. How's
Good to be
life?
back.
Looks like things are changing behind you. I see.
Yep. Gradually, I put that shelf there. I went to hang that mirror up, but I measured once. Apparently, I didn't do it correctly because it's a heavy mirror, and I'm standing on a ladder, and it's like here, and I'm trying, and it's like, it's not like you can kind of hang it anywhere. It's like two specific spots where it goes in, you know, where it's like just as wide as the nail, and then it pops down. So, yeah, my arms were sore that day, and I haven't gone back to it since.
Oh, man. So we have so much to share with our listeners. First off,
Awesome.
the hair is still short, but you can see I'm starting to get fluffy again.
Uh-oh.
I think we'll let this grow a little bit. I think people want to see the short hair with this, so
There you go.
we'll see how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't look like a baby.
That's cool. I'm debating. I'm debating what I'm gonna do with my hair. I'm not sure because this. Well, what you said we don't have any plans. I'm just gonna throw this out there real quick. So I've done we've talked about it. I haven't talked about it much on here, but I know I'm not a great number one as far as in a business is concerned. I've built a successful business. Like I had a teammate and we were like the things that we were doing, I could work harder than anybody else.
Right.
Is my superpower. I can run circles around anybody. And I'm a talker, so that helps too, especially in sales.
For sure.
So I'm not necessarily the most amazing, like everything else like a number one CEO should be. So, you know, and that's something that I've known. And like I said, I can't remember if we've talked about it on here or not.
I don't think we've talked about it, but it's a known quantity.
Yeah. So, you know, I loved when I got my job. I loved, you know, selling. I loved talking to people and being like kind of back in that. And there were other things that I didn't love about it. And one of the main reasons I got it was because like the website isn't like sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not as good. And I've taken those steps to try to make it better, you know, without spending too much as far as like my return on investment. And like it's just like even so far this month, I've had one really good month and two bad months. So I am looking like I'm going to be getting a new job selling cars, and I'm super, super excited.
I have a different idea for you.
Oh,
So let me do my pitch first.
nice.
I had this idea like a couple days ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it started with an idea for me. But then I was thinking, and it turned into an idea for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think too much about it. I was like, yeah, maybe we'll talk about it sometime.
Yeah.
And then, like, today, and then especially as you started talking, like, the idea crystallized. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's definitely a thing. So I don't know why this popped into my head recently, but I was talking to my wife about it. I'm like, hey, I had this idea. And she's like, you're an idiot. You always have this idea. She's very loving, my wife, very loving.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh, I mean, I know I talked about this like way back. And she's like, no. She goes, every few years you talk about it. And I think it is a good idea. And like, maybe you should do it. And then I was like, oh, well, if you like it, then I probably don't like it. Like, it's probably not a good idea. But I was like, I've always been, because she always says, like, oh, maybe you should retire or whatever. And I'm like, what would I do? And she's like, you'd find something. And I'm like, no, I wouldn't. Like, I know what'll happen. Like, I get to experience that every year. I got to experience it during COVID. I didn't find anything else. I just became a lesser version of myself.
Yeah.
But she's like, no, I think if you planned on something, then you would, like, go for it. And so I said, oh, I actually do remember something that I wanted to do. And she was like, what? And I go, I wanted to be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
right? Like with all the houses that I do and the rentals, like that's always been something that I've talked about. And I've talked about one of her bosses, like being my person because he was a
Yeah.
broker. And, and it kind of like ebbed and flowed because
Hmm.
like we're always busy and doing stuff. But I was like, that is something like I could see myself doing in retirement. And then I'm like, actually, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to sell that stuff. And she was like,
Yeah.
well, you could be selling businesses, you could be doing commercial leases, you could be doing this. And I'm like, or I could just continue my own business, but have that help me grow my business.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's a pretty powerful thing. And then I was like, ooh, and Kilted could be doing this, and Kilted could be doing it in North Carolina, and I could be doing it up here, and we could like come up with cool deals for each other. So if one of them's in one spot and one of us is in
Hmm.
the other spot, it would give us a broader thing for finding commercial properties or rental properties
Yeah.
or helping other people do stuff. And then when you were just talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, the problem with you when you sold motorcycles, and we had talked about this when you started to work at Harley, is
Hmm.
you hadn't had a boss or a 9 to 5 in forever.
But I didn't have any problems with that.
No, you didn't,
Yeah.
except you did have a problem with working with humans, right? Like,
No, I had a
like,
problem with the owner,
and all
and
of those other people that did things wrong.
I did have some issues with other people not doing their jobs.
Yes, and but that's true no matter.
Because it affected me. Yes.
But it's true no matter where you go. Like in my profession, I have people who don't do their
Hmm.
jobs. It directly affects me, and that's a
Hmm.
thing, right? My wife
Hmm.
deals with that all the time. And that's you don't have to deal with that when you're doing your own business.
Yes.
That's not a thing. And so then I was like thinking about that. And I'm like, yeah, he didn't like how those people did it, not the way he would do it, which both of us would classify as wrong, but
Hmm.
I'm not judging it.
Well,
Like this
I was going to take a picture of that sign just to show you, and it's completely gone. So all the advertising for 2025 is gone. Like,
Right. Well, and like I said, your boss, like the owner's technically the main boss, and you didn't get along with him either. And so, like, which all makes sense to me. Like, that's going back to the 9 to 5. You have to deal with bosses who are dumb and coworkers who do dumb stuff that affects you directly. Like, that's the 9 to 5 suckage,
yeah.
right? And that you don't get paid jack. But I was like, as we're talking, and as I was coming up with this truth, I'm like, oh my gosh, like he loves to talk to people. He loves, and I started thinking about this the other day about how like a couple of my good friends, like they still go out to dinner with their real estate agent. They still invite them to the house for like pizza night and stuff. And I'm like, that's the kind of relationship you were having at Harley. That's the kind of relationships you want. And I was like, that's what he needs to do. Like when I started thinking about them doing it and then you were talking, I'm like, he does need to do that because he would be pretty much his own boss. He wouldn't be affected by all of these other people, just other direct real estate agents, right?
Yeah.
And
I considered real estate actually.
Yeah.
Just like last time around when I was, just job hunting and seeing what was out there.
Well, and like right now, you're in a market that's great. Like in my market, being an agent is touch or go, right?
Yeah.
Like Michigan is always with real estate. But you're in North Carolina, in the part of North Carolina that has beautiful real estate, right? And so becoming an agent, I think you could do some serious damage and you'd be your own boss and you'd still be doing your schedule, how you want to do your stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's pretty powerful. So that's my pitch to you. Like, don't go doing cars. Go do the real estate. We can go do the license stuff together because everything's asynchronous now.
Okay.
Right? So, like, we could do a class online, like, learn all of the stuff, take the tests. It'd be a good time.
That could be. Although I have a piss test tomorrow, so.
Well, you could skip it. You could skip the piss test.
I don't know if I would do that. It is, like I said, it was something that I was considering, so I may have to circle back around to it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna pursue this right now. I'm
So
pretty
give us
excited.
the story with this, because this is brand new to me and I'm sure to our listeners.
Yep. Well, I've been looking a little bit. This is in the same building, they have Volkswagen, Volvo, and Porsche.
Okay.
So I'm not allowed to touch the Porsche for a while. And I mean, they don't have a lot of foot traffic that comes in, because they were saying that because the owner owns that and like a Kia that's kind of on the same lot. And they're like, Kia down there, they get a lot of foot traffic. What I would be doing is more like reaching out to people and stuff like that, which, I have no problem with. I had a great, like at Harley Davidson, they gave me a list of orphans and they're like, okay, say this. So I practiced it. I got good at it. And then I said it. And then I had contacted everybody on the list, like within a short amount of time. And I'm like, okay, what now? Like, do I get more people? And they're just like, well, no, blah, blah, blah. But I had asked this question. I'm like, okay, so what happened? Because I was like, I imagine if there's not a lot of foot traffic, we're going to be calling a lot of people. And he's like, yep. He's like, we have tons, like we've been in business 50 years, blah, blah, blah. We have an unlimited list of people. I was like, okay, cool. And he's like, well, one guy, he doesn't do it too often, but we have this other thing that you can do too, but we'll fill you in later. I was like, okay, like I'm fine with anything. Like for me, like if I'm going to be there and I'm going to spend my 8-10 hours, whatever it is there, I want to be busy. I don't want to be sitting around jacking off. If I want to do that, I'd stay at home.
Right.
Just like, yeah. So, and that was one, like, we were talking about pay as well. And thankfully they don't have like a basic, like where you're learning. Like they just throw you out there, which is good. I was like, okay, I want straight commission. And they're like, well, like maybe for your first 2 weeks, because you can switch it at any time at the beginning of the month that you want. They're like, maybe do that one just to be safe. I was like, okay, I'll do that one for 2 weeks and then we'll go from there. So, because I know being a professional, like it's like if I don't do the work, I'm not going to get paid, and and I'm sure that they have things that you've got to do, and I think that helps me, like having to be there and having the direction. Like when I had to go to a show, I had to be to that show. I wasn't sick, and I had to work those hours.
Right.
And if I didn't do it then I had to wait and do it the next week, which is the same idea. If I don't do it that day, I have to do it the next day. Right. But as opposed to, at Harley, I was sitting around a lot because it was like, I wasn't going to start picking up the phone. It's a different kind of thing where you're just like calling the white pages. Like I'm not expecting to do that at this other job either.
Right.
So I think that direction is good for me, like knowing myself. If I'm, I don't need new friends. Like, of course, I'm friendly to everybody. Just like I was when I was starting out Harley. I didn't need a bunch of new friends.
Right.
We became a little bit more friends. I mean, but since then, it's not like they've reached out to me or I reached out to them. When I was up there at the dealership, like I said hi to everybody, but I was with the boys and we were having fun and doing the program that they had.
Right.
So
how did you find this gig?
Just on Indeed.
Oh.
I was looking at a couple different ones, a couple different dealerships in the area here. This one's actually in Hickory. Mm-hmm. So it's more west of where I am, but it's almost north of where the boys go to school.
Okay. How far away? Like how long drive time?
A half hour, 45 minutes. Okay. From here, it's a half hour from the boys' school.
So it's a little bit of a drive.
Yeah.
But
I'm excited.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if it's something that's worth it, like, I mean, my first real job, I drove a half hour to get to Meyer.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was minimum wage. And I drove an hour to see my girlfriend. I had to get far enough away where no one knew me. Apparently.
Right. So this is not minimum wage then, right?
No, it's not. It's not $7 an hour. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's still a couple things I need to make sure, like, we had talked and like everything is like, okay, you're hired, blah, blah, blah. And, I'm going to go in there tomorrow and I'm going to just make sure, like, okay, I have a trip planned. I'm going to Michigan. I'm spending a week there during this time. Mm-hmm. And, I have a long weekend planned for the family reunion. a long weekend plan, and I will not be here during those times.
Right.
I'm just letting them know now. But
Yes.
I imagine, you know, I like to think I'm going to go in there and destroy everybody. That's my attitude going in.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm not the top salesperson, like for the month of April, like I'm not going to be sad, you know, because I'm coming in halfway through. But I imagine I'm going to be right there. So when you're that person, you get to you have more flexibility, I would say.
Sure.
Like if you're barely making your 10 cars a month, you're going to have a hard time asking for time off.
Is that their average, 10 cars a month?
That's their minimum. I don't know what the average is there, but that's the minimum. Like if you don't sell 10 in a month, like you're like, cause you can like the starting pay is like a set pay plus a lower percentage on the cars. And then the straight commission, you get a draw. And then once you hit 10, you don't have to pay the draw back. And then it's commission. So it's kind of like extra commission that you would get on top of once you hit your 10.
But they think you'll get 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they'd hire me if they didn't think they could get 10.
Right. Well,
I'm
if
surprised.
that's the minimum. Must be what they're thinking.
Looking at just seeing them, it's surprising like how many of the dealerships want like 2 years experience. I saw that a lot. Okay. Whereas like when I was younger, like my first car sales job, I mean, if you could fog the mirror, they'd hire you. And that's like what it used to be like. Like, okay, can we train this person and stuff? But even though that wasn't very successful for me, it taught me a lot because it was in my life where I really just started reading again. Mm-hmm. And one of the old timers there, he gave me like 2 closing books. And he's like, read these. And that's what I did. And I don't know if I still have those ones. But no, I'm looking at my books right here. I don't
like
think
this mirror because earlier we got to see the dog. Now we get to see her butt. That's something I
nice.
often get to see.
So
a whole bunch of people are rewinding the video right now.
Yeah, they're like, uh-oh.
They're like, Kilted.
So yeah, I'm super excited. But I mean, to go back to the real estate that you were talking about, it was like I was looking at that, and I of course I like the idea: own your own business, set your own hours. What I want, I don't have to ask to go to Michigan for a week. I don't have to ask anybody.
Right.
So.
Well, and one of the things that I'm sure is enticing to people in like real estate is, you sell a $300,000 house, which is not a very high selling house in your area. Mm-mm. Like you get $3,000, right? It's like, that's your commission.
Is that it? No, it's more than that, isn't it?
I'm saying that would be like your minimum.
You get 3%. I guess if you have
3%, but you got to give like 1.5 to your broker and probably a half for jacking off. So you figure you got to get at least 1% when it's all said and done. Mm-hmm. But that means you got $3,000 on that sale. So like just doing one sale a week.
Yeah.
Gets you $150,000 a year, which is, and that's just assuming you're doing, like in your area, a cheap $300,000 house.
Yeah, if you can find a $300,000 house in this area, it's pretty exciting.
Right, more likely you're doing $500,000 houses, right?
Yeah,
and then you're getting $5,000 each time, and so even if you only do 2 of them a month, you're making $120 a year, like.
That was the thing too.
The golden handcuffs, right?
Yeah. Well, that's like talking about with the sheets and everything. Like I've kind of known for a while, like I'm not really going to order more. I was kind of still on the fence, but I've decided like I'm not ordering more. Like I'm not willing to change my business that much to pay an extra 50% my cost. And then I have to pass that along. So I still have the same living situation, or even like a little less, like if I cut into that, but it wasn't like that wouldn't be worth the $100,000 it would take for me to order another container.
Right, right.
So that's what made me start thinking too. Like I loved what I was doing. I had a great time. I love sales. I love interacting with people. So why am I, wondering what's going to happen with the website and this and that? And so I was just like, you know what? I knew I was going to have to do something,
Yeah.
especially since I didn't sell at the right time in the crypto market. It's fine. I wasn't made to lay around for the rest of my life, I guess.
Well, don't worry. The crypto market will go back up soon.
You think so? I think so too. But it's Bitcoin's 76 right now.
Is it really? I didn't know.
Do you know what ETH is?
What?
Take a guess. Just take a guess.
1700,
if you haven't seen it in a while.
1600?
Yeah. 1474.
Woo! That's hurty. Right?
Yeah.
But, this is the sacrifice 30% of our country was willing to make. So,
Yep.
like, they're going to take that brunt because they know in the long run things will be way, way better. Right?
Yep.
So, that's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. So what's new with you? Anything exciting happened this week?
Well, so a couple things.
Because I monopolized the beginning of the show here.
No.
Right
it went right along with what I
opening.
wanted to talk about because, like, I wanted to talk about, like, venturing into other things, like me doing real estate. Not that, like, again, I don't know if I'd want to become a seller, but
Yeah.
that's always been intriguing to me because I always do properties. And I think I should have done it when I was 20. I thought I should have done it at 30. Thought I should have done it at 40. And now I'm at 50. And I'm like, why am I still sitting here going, ooh, I should do this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not who I am. Maybe I should just freaking do it. Like, before it was hard because I had to take the classes, right? And you'd have to go to the company and you'd have to take the classes. And for me, time is of the essence. But now you can do your classes online, like asynchronous. And I just thought of that, like, recently. I'm like, wait a second. Everything's online now. I'm sure real estate is too. And it is. And so I'm like, oh, okay. You mean I could be doing this between like 9 o'clock and midnight every night?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's like my jam. So
yeah, exactly. You're peaking during that time.
Right. So I'm like, I could like actually do the stuff right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I thought that was like an interesting thought.
Yep.
I don't know if I'll do it or not, but it's something that like I said, I've always been interested in. The problem is, as is always the case with me, I have so many things I'm interested in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I've got 2 AI companies talking to me like about, hey, like maybe you should like present for us at conferences or do this or that. And I'm like teaching people about these different AI services. And
that's awesome.
Like I've got to learn more, right? So like that takes a lot of brain power to learn all that. And so then it's like, do I learn that and the other? Do I focus on one? So as always, there's more things to do than there is time to do the things.
Yeah.
So.
I think, obviously AI is the future. That's super exciting.
Yeah.
There's a great book for you to read if you want to learn some more about AI.
I think I've seen the book. I think I've read it.
Nice.
The problem is, as like I found when I went to my last conference, I feel like I'm a beginner with all the AI stuff. I am further along than most people are with the AI stuff. So like one presenter presented, and I got some good stuff out of it. But in general, I was like, this is all like, I'm way beyond you, right?
Yeah.
And like like the book I read on AI by Kilted was a really, really good book. But also I'm past that point in my AI journey, which...
Yeah, for sure.
Like we always talk about everybody's in different spots of their journeys. And so just in different worlds. So yeah. Which doesn't, like, that presenter was fantastic. The book is fantastic. That doesn't change that just because I'm... Yeah. Like, I've said that to other people. Like, I forget I went to some training once, and they were like, what'd you think? And I'm like, oh, the training was awesome. They're like, did you get a lot out of it? I'm like, no. I'm like, that training wasn't meant for me. Like,
Well, even when I first started researching my book, yeah, I mean, you were already talking about you didn't even use Google anymore, that you only use ChatGPT for stuff.
yeah,
And
well,
I wasn't at that point.
and like now, like my wife and I were talking the other day to somebody, and we're to the point now where we can start telling which AI to use for which thing, for generative AI, right?
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
when she's doing a budget, ChatGPT is what she goes to for a budget. If you're doing like art stuff, like there's other things like Gemini that are way, way better,
Mhm.
right? When I'm doing school stuff, like doing school AI is better than Gemini, but it's safer than using ChatGPT. Like there's all of these different things. And again, the
Yeah.
more you use it, the more you get figured out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, lots of new things, and the car thing would be good. Though I'm gonna still say, for the record, the real estate would be a better option. So,
There you
only
go.
because my worry is the same as my worry was when you went to Harley. Working with other humans is problematic when it's not your normal, right?
I guess we're gonna see. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, we will.
because I get along with people really, really well,
Super
but
well.
I do get annoyed with people if it's affecting me. If it's affecting the image of myself, the people that are coming to see me there, and they see other stuff, and that's representative of me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I have higher standards, I like to think, on some of those things. So
That's the thing.
some things are important to me.
That's the thing. Like, I hear Cora bitch about that all the time. Like, why won't they just clean the stuff? Because that's how humans are, honey. That's how
Hmm.
humans are, right? And if you're going to work at a job with other humans, you got to expect, you've got to know that they're not going to care as much as you care. They're
Hmm.
not going to do it. And so you've got to be able to handle that or not, right? And
Yeah.
that's where I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, Kilted's not going to handle that. That's not his realm
Yeah.
because that's not what you've ever had to. So, and you don't have to now.
Yeah.
So when you don't have to, it becomes like, like for me, I don't like it. It's harder for me to handle stuff like that now, but I'm at the point where I don't have to, right? Like
Yeah.
I tell other people how the world works, not
Hmm.
them telling me how it works. So
Hmm.
it's,
Yeah.
it's
It was
different.
funny. I had a recall, and I was just in. It was just like the local Hyundai dealership,
Mm-hmm.
so for a recall, and just the waiting area, and I'm sitting in the waiting area drinking bad car dealership coffee. Like, I
It's
just
like my favorite.
they had some decaf there. Yeah, and I knew I'd be there for an hour and a half. I'm like, I'm gonna have some decaf coffee, and I was thinking like the place I was working at, which I consider Harley Davidson to be a world class brand,
For sure. I would as well.
much on the scale like much higher than I would think a Hyundai. Although Hyundai cars have come a long ways. Like I'm super happy with mine. Like I love it and all that stuff.
It's no Harley.
But the difference of just the waiting area for if you're getting service or you're chilling was a million times better than what I was experiencing at my old job.
Wait, the Hyundai was way, way better than the Harley?
A million times better.
Well, there you go. There you go.
So it's just like those are things. Like if my customers come in to hang out for service and they go in the thing and there's not even a coffee maker. You can't grab any coffee. There's no, I mean, there's like a little thing for water, or you can buy some sodas or whatever. And there's like a little couch and then like a bunch of crap piled in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's not okay for me.
No.
Like I was like, why is this like this? Like, didn't make any sense. So, yeah. The new waiting area is nice. It's got a kids area. The kids can play. It's got all that stuff. So
Yes, as it should.
it's at least as it should.
Like,
especially for those brands. I mean, Volkswagens are really nice. I drove the Volkswagen at what was that, OBC. I loved that thing, that Jetta. Miles had one for a while that he drove a lot. I love the new buses, so I'm excited there. I'll be starting there. But Volvo is considered a luxury brand, of course. Porsche,
mm-hmm.
is so the people that are coming in there, I would expect them to expect more. I would expect them to expect great customer service.
Yeah. I would.
Yeah, just like if you're buying a $30,000 motorcycle and you come in to get it worked on, you expect great service.
I mean, in reality, like
amenities.
If I'm going to a place that's their thing, I expect good service, right? Like if I go to the Chrysler dealer, if I go to the Chevy dealer, it doesn't matter. I expect it to be good. If I go to some podunk place down the street, I don't expect that.
Yeah, but they're still going to have bad coffee.
Right.
At least.
They'll all have bad coffee.
Yeah.
Even the vet has a Keurig there, right? With a big sign, help yourself to the coffee. Right?
Yep.
I think that's important. I also think, I've thought this for 30 years, and I've started to kind of like do it on my own almost, I realized. But I think like schools should always have coffee. All the teachers should get it. The students should get it. There should just be a tap with coffee running all the time.
Yeah.
And if you want stuff that's fancy, okay, then you sell that or do whatever. But like, that's like, that kind of powers the world. So you want these people like going good, drug them up, give them that caffeine.
And think about the kids who have ADD. And they're having coffee before they're diagnosed, so they're much more focused.
Yeah.
And then they're not getting zombied out by getting put on some crappy medication.
Some Ritalin or something else. All right, so I do still have a story to tell you. Sorry, I'm looking for one of my whiskeys. So before we run out of time, I went to a concert this week. Oh, good. There's one of my.
Awesome.
Yeah. So had like some friends. They're kind of newer friends. They're from band, right? But I've coached their kids, went to Europe with one of their kids, so kind of know them. The dad is a huge gamer, been to Origins, been to Gen Con, been running D&D campaigns for 30 years. By the way,
that's awesome.
I told him I'm doing my first campaign and that I wouldn't let anybody have race stuff. He's like, he goes, you're doing a blah, blah, blah. He goes, I've done so many of those. I love those. I love doing them. I love being part of them. They're like some of my favorite campaigns. I'm like, wait, that's like a thing? I thought I was like new. He's like, no, it's a thing. I was like, oh.
I'd never heard of it, so you're good.
Yeah. Well, and then I'm laughing because, like some of our friends were like all bitter, like that's not D&D. And he's been doing this for 30 years, and he probably, I think he said like a third of his campaigns have been that way. So. Yeah. It's
good because you can see it. You can, because sometimes you might have a personality in your mind, but what you actually are going to do with that, you don't know. You don't know how your player's going to interact and stuff like that.
So that's not the story.
Awesome.
So the story is we go to Here Come the Mummies, which I love.
Nice.
So they texted us and they're like, hey, are you guys going to Here Come the Mummies tonight? Like they knew we liked them. So they're good enough friends that they knew we liked Here Come the Mummies.
Yeah.
And like I wrote back and said, maybe, like I don't know if I'll be able to get Amy like out of the house because she's kind of a homebody. And I'm like, I'll let you know. And then like later on they texted, they're like, we've got an extra ticket if you want one. And like I'm like, hey, we have to go. And she's like, oh, I just want to like sit at home. I'm like, I know, but you're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna have a good time. We should go. And she's like, okay. So we show up and it's their whole family. So 2 high school boys, college, like freshman or sophomore, and those 2, and us 2, as well as like 100 and 200 of our closest friends, right?
Yeah.
And packing this little bar venue, which is...
Where was it at?
It's at a place called Gray Walls, which is new, but it's basically like a rectangle... Used to be a shop in Old Town with like a balcony area for the VIPs.
Okay.
And like a bar area on one side. And so you walk in and you're just like crammed in and the stage is on one wall.
Awesome.
Right? So it's like packed in. And so we come in and we're like chit-chatting and I asked my wife, who we've interviewed, I'm like, hey, did you like message E, who we've interviewed?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, he's coming. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I'm like, so you invited him out? And she's like, no, he was already coming. And I was like, oh, cool. So I see Ephraim like standing in line with a gal, and they make their way in eventually. We got there early, like just after the doors opened. So we're like hanging out and we're all chatting, and I realize I'm going to have to make introductions, right? So the guy comes over, and his name's Noah, and I'm like, hey, Noah, this is Ephraim. He's been coaching with me forever and ever, good friend. And they say hi. I'm like, this is, I guess, his girl, Jen. I don't know. And he's like, yeah. And so the mom comes over, who's the one who'd been texting us and who always reaches out and just a great lady. And I'm like, crap, I don't know if I have her name right. So I'm like purposely removing myself from the situation so I don't have to introduce her. Right? And finally, like, Amy kind of comes over to me and I'm like, hey, what's her name again? And she's like, whose name? And I'm like, Mama Smith. Like, what's Mama Smith's name? And she's like, who? And I'm like, the freaking lady we're with. I have to introduce her. Like, Mama Smith. What's her name? And she's like, oh, Renee. And I'm like, oh. I'm like, okay, it sounds familiar, but I didn't think it was that. But I was like, okay, Renee. So she comes over and I'm like, hey, let me introduce you. This is my buddy E. This is Renee. This is Jen, Renee. And they're all like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And they're saying hi. And then we're like talking for a minute. And she looks at the other girl and she's like, so wait, your name's Renee? And the girl's like, no, my name's Jen. And the lady's like, crazy, my name's Jen too. And then she's like, wait a second. She looks at me, she's like, did you mess up my name? And I'm like, maybe I messed it up. And she's like, I thought you mixed up our names, but we're both Jen. And I'm like, yeah, you're both Jens. And she's like, you don't know my name? I'm like, I do know your name. It's Jen Smith.
That's awesome.
She's like, how'd you do this? I'm like, it's Amy's fault. It's Amy's fault. She's like, Amy, you don't know my name? And she's like, yes, I know your name. She's like, Brian said you told him that my name was Renee. And I'm like, I checked with her because I was so worried about messing up your name that I wanted to double check. And she was like, no, it's Renee. And Amy's like, her name's not Renee. Her name's Jen. I'm like, why did you tell me it was Renee? She's like, I thought you were talking about Cora's boyfriend's mom because her name's Renee.
Smith.
Yes, Renee Smith. I'm like, why the hell would I be asking about his mom when I'm doing introductions here? I'm like, you set me up. She's like, I didn't set you up. I just didn't know who you were talking about. I'm like, how would you not know?
That's awesome.
I'm like, you knew. You set me up. Which is why the name sounded familiar. Like, I was like, oh, I guess it is Renee. I must just be confusing it because the other girl's name is Jen, and I must just be mixing it up in my brain. I wanted to be sure.
That's hilarious.
Nope,
the concert was awesome.
It was, yeah. No, yes and no. Yes and no.
Uh-oh.
So, on one hand, it was awesome because, like, it's Here Come the Mummies, and Here Come the Mummies are awesome, right? And it was interesting because everybody is, like, trying to push as close as they can.
Yes.
But you're in a freaking box. Like, people kept trying to push by me. And they're like, does he seriously? He's walked by you like 30 times. What kind of a party is going on in that room?
I don't know.
Is that his bedroom?
No, that's the kitchen.
Like, he must be making something where, like, every 5 minutes it's got to be, like, flipped and checked out. Like, does he even know you're recording right now? You should, like, put
I don't know.
sign. Should put up a sign. Like, hey.
Hey, what is it?
Like, hey, pick a freaking spot. I can see his shorts.
What's that?
Mini scale.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
He has something for me.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think he knows I'm recording.
Oh. I'm like, he's just trying to get his steps in. He's just going back and forth.
He's getting his steps in for sure.
For sure. So where was I before
He's
I got
dressed at
distracted?
least.
Yeah, half dressed.
The box smashed in the box.
So yeah, so everybody would like scoot by us. Like Ephraim, of course, like right at the beginning, like scoots up forward and goes like halfway up in the crowd because he can. Right? I'm just sitting there taking up my space, and people would like slide by me and then get stuck, and I'm just laughing. Right? But so that was kind of interesting because you're like constantly people trying to get as close as they can, and there's nowhere to go. You're like, people can't move. But when you're in the back, like where we started, because there's that like balcony area, and the place is not made for sound.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not a concert hall. It's like a warehouse, if you could imagine a warehouse almost, but not a good warehouse, like a warehouse from the 1850s, right? And so, like, there's no acoustics. So if you were back underneath that stage, that balcony, you couldn't hear anything. Like you couldn't hear the words, you could hear the music, but you couldn't hear any like words or anything like that. Like there was a guy who was introducing them, and he's like up on the mic and he's like, "Rawr, rawr, 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 rawr." And we're like looking at each other, like everybody is like, is he saying words? And he's like, "Ah," and everybody be like, "Yeah," and he'd be like, "Yeah," and we're like, literally couldn't hear anything. So when we scooted up, then you could hear, and it was better. And it's the Mummies, so it's always like rocking and jamming. But as Ephraim said, that might be the worst sound that he's ever heard at a concert, and he's a DJ, so
yeah.
You know, it was atrocious. I'm like, well, yeah, because it had like wooden rafters all the way through 20 feet up. There was no sound coming down.
Yeah.
So it's just the way it works.
Yeah, that was like actually it was Y2K. Chris Velocich and I went and saw Metallica. And nice. Kid Rock was there, and I forget who else. Anyways, so we didn't have great seats, and it was in the old Palace, and we were kind of off to the side, like where we were at. Like we talked like in normal voices the whole time. You could hear, let's say my day, you could hear the music, but none of the speakers were at us, and it wasn't loud at all. It was just like it was cool. It was Y2K. We weren't sure if the world was ending.
Yeah.
You know, but like we couldn't really hear it.
Yeah, but it was similar. But it was still Here Come the Mummies. That was still Metallica.
It was still Metallica. Yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, see, and that's awesome.
The first thing I ate of the new millennia was some White Castle.
Nice. That's a good way to start the millennia right there. If you're going out, go out with a White Castle. I agree.
Exactly.
Seems like a good call. So anyway, I think we're about past our time. So, and we didn't talk about half the stuff I want to talk about, like the healing power of humans. Like that was one of my main subjects.
Oh, I have to write that down. I think that would be timeless. So you didn't necessarily have to.
It was particular to your kiddos. So. Yeah. Like we are so fragile, but we heal so well. So.
Yes. Yeah, I had some excitement this weekend. We'll have to talk about it next time.
We will have to talk about it. So anyway, cliffhanger, people. We got exciting things to talk about. So come back, talk to us more. Otherwise, thank you for joining us. And this is Ballbuster signing off.
Kilted Dragon Jerry, love you all.